Howdy, everyone, and welcome to RetroZpective, the podcast of retro music recommendations for Gen Zers. I'm Kath, a Gen Z millennial cusp, and I love old and new music alike. In this show, I trace similarities between modern and classic artists, making listening suggestions along the way. In this episode, we're going to talk about BTS. Now, if you haven't already heard, BTS is a South Korean K-pop group, now one of the biggest in the world, and they gained popularity after their debut in 2013. The name BTS comes from a shortening of Bangtan Boys, which is the technical name of the band. With a whopping 7 members, the band has one of the most active and constantly growing fan bases in the world, going by the name ARMY. One trip to Twitter and other social media platforms reveals the widespread support for the band by all. They have recently had success with their songs Butter and Dynamite, which have been called songs of the summer, just fun, upbeat tunes. And they've also been collaborating with long-respected artists like Coldplay and even Halsey. The band has already been nominated for Grammys and various other awards. Aside from their popularity and their catchy songs, BTS is also known for their innovation in the industry. The band has worked to create storylines associated with their albums and songs, with colorful, story-based music videos that accompany them. If you've never seen one of these music videos, I highly recommend checking them out on YouTube. They're really well produced and just really beautiful, tell a lovely story. A lot of these are centered around self-love with positive messaging for their audiences, and the members help to write their own music, so they combine English and Korean lyrics to appeal to a much wider fan base. So you're a huge BTS fan, you want a taste of another, maybe older pop band sensation. You're thinking, what should you try out? I'm going to go this route, and hopefully it's not the most obvious, but I'm going to talk about Queen for the majority of this podcast. So Queen is easily one of the most recognizable band names in the past however many years. Certainly a very popular band. You've probably already heard of them. And not to say that BTS's popularity has, surpassed them, but they are definitely both huge names in the industry at this point, with like cult followings of people who definitely are interested in their music. So, it seems kind of obvious, but I think the comparison between the two can actually be pretty interesting. So, recognizable name, Freddie Mercury, the frontman of Queen. He joined in 1970 to make the band that would, ultimately become a legend. And with his joining, the band started taking pretty big, significant risks, which is where I kind of see the similarities between the two. So if you've seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody based on Queen's coming together as a band, you may have already heard this story or kind of, heard it through the grapevine. But basically, Queen released the song Bohemian Rhapsody that we all know and love as the single from their album A Night at the Opera. And, obviously accepted as a masterpiece in this day and age, clocking in at almost 6 minutes. But at the time, that was pretty much unheard of for a single. It was super uncommon for something that long to be played on the radio, which was obviously a big part of getting their name out there, getting songs played. But nowadays, it's not so uncommon for these longer songs to be chart toppers, which is something that Queen really made possible. So one of the big similarities I see between the two bands is that, BTS is really acting as a pioneer with these storytelling albums. It's not something that has been super popular to do in the past. So I'm wondering, maybe these storytelling albums are going to pave the way for more of this in the future. And in terms of songs, I would definitely say check out Queen's poppy, upbeat song, A Kind of Magic, and then compare it to BTS's song DNA. I think they're both very similar in terms of being catchy and just really keeping your attention and being very fun. All right, so that will take us to the end of this episode. I really hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about these innovative pop rock bands. If you have any recommendations on artists you'd like to see me cover in the future, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you so much for listening to RetroZpective. I've been Kath.